Okay, so now we need to add our cell, the cell that we created in the previous video, to our menu view controller. And to do that, we need to go to the cell for row at index path function, and then throw that away and do a quick customization on that one. So let's add, or let's import our menu view cell initially. Okay, so that's the menu view cell imported, and then in here, let's remove all that, and let's say we're gonna create a type of menu view cell. Call that cell, and then we'll dequeue the cell. And if there's no cell being dequeued, we can then go load one from our menu view cell.zip. So what we want to do is create an array and then load the menu view cell. Okay, so here we're gonna have to add the name of our cell, and then we can loop over this array and then just pick out the cell that we need. And to do that, we need to use a quick for in. So we'll say if that object is a cell, if it's of type TableViewCell, then we can take that one. Then we know that that's because in the end, in that menu view cell, the only table view cell is what we're looking for, and then we'll say cell equal to menu view cell. We cast that object to our cell, and then we'll break the loop. So at the end of this loop, we should have our cell in that object. And I think that's all we need to do for that bit. And then what we can do is return the cell, so we can delete everything that we have up until here. We will need to configure the cell later, but for now let's leave it at that. I think there's a problem in here. We need to add one more parenthesis and then one at the end. Okay, so let's run that and let's see what we get. Great, so we have our cells there. It's a little bit longer than what I thought it should be, but then we have our cell, and then we can click and then it will show the next list on the side here. So what we want to do is change this cell, so basically we can see how it looks when it's highlighted. We know which cell is actually highlighted. So first of all, let's go back to our menu view cell and let's change the width of this to be 200. Okay, and then we drag it across again so we have our numbers back in view, and then we resize that. Okay, so we wanted to change, so what we'll have in our list of resources, if you actually go back down to the list here, we have a menu small, which looks like that, and then we have a selected, which is basically a darker version of that, and also we have a count as well. So we have a count, selected, and that. So what we need to do is switch between both views depending on what the selection type is. To do that, we need to go back to our menu view cell and customize this function that says set selected. So what we need to do is say if selected, then we need to create the views and the images that we need for that. So let's have an image. So that's background selected, for example. So that is going to be the image that is going to show when the cell is selected. We also need the one for the count as well. Let's call that count selected. Oops, can't type. Alright, so we have that, and then the next step is to actually add these images to our cell. So we haven't configured that. What we need to do is actually drag and make sure we have instances of all these views in our class file. So let's click on the editor, click on the side-by-side view there, and then we choose the menu view cell, the header file, and then let's drag and drop each of these views into our header file. So that's going to be the background image view. Okay, that's not going to work until I actually say that this class is of my menu view cell. Okay, so now we can actually, because we're actually associating our cell with this file. So if I drag my background view again, okay, so that's there. Let's call that BG image view. BG I wanted to say, but anyway, let's leave it for now. Then we need our text as well. Let's call that label. And then this is the count. Let's call that image count. And then we need to get a hold of the image view on the background there. So this is going to be our count background. So let's call that BG count. Put that back where it's supposed to be, and we're almost there. So if you go back to our menu view cell, let's remove the side-by-side view, and then we have our BG image view, or actually I call it BI image view. We'll set the image to the selected value, and then also we need to set the background for the count as well to this image, to the selected value. So we'll call that BG count. Okay, so that's the first step. Second step is the next step actually, is to set the color for the text, because when you know what, let's run this and then we'll see what we get, and then I can explain better. Okay, so when it's not selected, we're gonna have to do something very similar. So let's copy that and then paste that here, and then this is gonna be just menu small, not selected, and this is gonna be just the count. And then let's call that BG count BG. Alright, so let's run this and then see what we get. Alright, so we have our views there, our cells, and if I click on one, it actually gives me a selected value down there, see? But the thing is now, I think we need to change the text of our selected cell to white, and our count has disappeared because they are both white. It's actually there, but they are both white. So what we do is we'll say label set text color, so that UI color, so when it's selected it should have a white color, and then our count as well, image count, set text color, so that will not be white in this case. Let's give it a gray color, and then we'll do the same thing when it's not, we'll revert it back to what it was when it's not selected. So let's paste that there, and then we'll have for our label, the text will go back to gray, and then the image count will be white. So let's run that and see what we have. So if we click on that, great, you see we have our Maldives, we have our gray color, very nicely done. And yeah, we know which of our cells are actually selected right now. So what's the next step? So the next step is to actually configure this list here. This list is going to be similar to what we have here, but the only thing is that it's going to have a thumbnail picture on the side, and then that thumbnail is going to show maybe one of the pictures that you're going to see when you click on that cell. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to configure this second list. It's going to actually be similar to this, but with an extra twist to it. Alright, so stay tuned for the next video.